The Z Flip 4, everything that you wanted in the Z Flip 3 and more. And I think that's really the best way to look at this phone. Yes, it's the Z Flip 4, but basically it's the Z Flip 3. Nothing on the outside or the inside really has materially changed. Sorry, inside is in the screen. Other than the fact that we do have a bigger battery and we have better battery life and we have a slightly improved camera experience on the primary camera, which I think is a welcome change. I think when you still look at it from a $1,000 camera perspective, we could do better, but it's a little bit easier to look at it and go, okay, they can't be quite as dynamic like the dynamic island with Apple and change things, you know. Sorry, I had to throw that in there because there's only so much room to work with. You're going to use small, shallow sensors because what you're worried about here is the form factor. You've already got a split battery underneath the hood, all of those things. So there were 3 key things that I thought that they really had to address when it came to the upgrade on this phone, and they pretty much did it. I mean, we did get slightly faster charging. It was really painful last year with the 15 watt charging. At least we have 25 watt charging now. So we get slightly faster charging, but that's built on the foundation of the bigger battery. 3700 milliamp battery. And this isn't like when you get people praising the iPhone 14 Pro for having 100 extra milliamps. That's not going to make that big of a deal. That's not going to go the distance. However, when you add about 11% extra battery, if I remember my numbers right, 3300 to 3700 milliamp battery plus. The big thing here is that this phone did not get the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1. It got the 8 Plus Generation 1, much better at conserving power, much better at power efficiency, much better at power to battery efficiency ratio. So those 2 things combined, the Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1 plus the bigger battery, makes this phone an all-day user. Now you can actually carry this phone around and use it all day, just like you wanted to do with your Z Flip 3, that you couldn't, because that phone, for me, would be dead by usually 4 o'clock in the afternoon. For most people, I said it was a business hours phone. It was a sun-up to sundown phone where you could take it off the charger on the way out the door with your coffee at like 7 in the morning, and by the time you got home in the evening, time for dinner, time to put the phone on the charger, hopefully you made it home by 6 o'clock. If you made it home at 8 or 9 o'clock, you could be on fumes, and that's nothing that you want. You don't want the battery anxiety in a $1,000 phone. So major things last year. The Z Flip 3, I think, was the most improved phone of last year. The Z Flip 3 and the Duo 2 from Microsoft, hands down the 2 most improved phones of last year. They did so much. Added stereo speakers, IPX8, they changed up the form factor. There was just a lot of neat things that they did, and all that stuff kind of stayed intact here. What I really would like to see is them to give us a meaningful front screen. Now, yes, you can do your little implementations and stuff. You can control some things. You can see the little screen to take pictures with the primary camera. That's cool. But they need to go after what the Motorola Razr did, to where you have a fully functional screen on the front that you can like type messages from, watch YouTube videos, do some little app navigation, and play a couple little games. Things that actually allow you to use the outside of your screen. Yes, this does. You can change your songs, you can look at your step count, you can look at the time, you can do smart replies. That's cool, but it's not that useful. So I was hoping they would push that envelope a little bit more. They did not. Still no DeX here. That's something that really, really irks me, because there's no reason why it shouldn't have DeX, at least wireless DeX. Then you don't have to worry about the whole USB connector and all that other stuff to make sure it can actually do the video out. You need to have DeX here. DeX, I think, for a lot of people has been a big selling point for Samsung phones and tablets for quite a while. You go back, even the Tab S5e has DeX. So the Tab S6 Lite has DeX. Why doesn't the Z Flip phone have DeX? It seems like a no-brainer, especially when if you're using it wirelessly, you can plug the sucker in and charge it. You don't have to worry about it overheating. You don't have to worry about the battery draining. Those are things that kind of go out the window when you have it plugged in. It's like a power plant. It's like an actual computer you can use. So yeah, they did some things. They added stuff for the flex mode and being able to separate the bottom screen, the top screen, use the bottom screen as a touchpad in some instances. I think that I would rather have DeX. So thoughtful phone. I like the improvements they made here. Essentially, this is the Z Flip 3S, if you talk about the old iPhone language. I don't feel like this is a huge improvement in as far as capabilities and things like that. Really, it really fixed the basics. The basics that it needed were better camera, better battery life, and not to be overheating all the time. The Z Flip 3 with the Snapdragon 888, it would get hot. I mean, there were certain times, especially if you were using things like Clubhouse or if you were in a Twitter space, oh my gosh. Like the battery, you could just see it draining down like a big rig with a 20-gallon gas tank just sucking up the gasoline. So they fixed some of that stuff. It is better, especially like using a hotspot. You don't feel like your phone's a raging inferno, like red dwarf sun that's going to melt in your pocket. So you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, it's one of those things. I think they've done a good job here. I do want to give Samsung credit where credit is due because they fixed all the things that made me not want to carry the Z Flip 3 on a daily basis. This now is a very, very competent daily driver if you want to pick one up. And it's also got the wow factor. I mean, what other phones can you do this with? I mean, you can just close it with one hand. You can open it up. You could get like a little tricorder skin so it looks like a Star Trek phone. I'm sure that Mr. Mobile, Michael Fisher, enjoys doing things like that. And then I know that he likes to flip his open more violently than I do. I'm still very kind of gingerly with them. I'm not in the business of like flicking my screen open on this phone. I have been known to close it aggressively. You know, if you get angry, especially with these spam calls and telemarketers, they drive me insane. So you got pretty much everything you want here. Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1, 8 gigabytes of RAM. You've got some scalability when it comes to the storage options. I have the 256 this year. I think that that's a good way to go, especially if you want to take some pictures and some video. I still think that this is perfect for TikTokers and Instagrammers and people who do short form media, especially with the selfie camera. I would like to see a better selfie camera. If we had the S22 Ultra selfie camera in here, it would be amazing. Like, this phone would completely slay in that department. But if you're interested in getting one, I think it's good. I think it's got all-day battery life now. There are times it could still be better when it gets in on the throttle, if you want to do some gaming, if you're taking pictures and video. Not even the Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1 is impervious to that. But lots of key improvements here in the right places, even though it doesn't look like it on the outside. It doesn't feel like it when you use it. But as you use it throughout the day, you notice those things like the actual staying power instead of wondering how you're going to get through the rest of the day when you're sitting down for lunch. And that was kind of the reality of the Z Flip 3. So I like what they did here. They had some great trade-in incentive stuff. And I mean, I was able to get mine. I traded in my Z Flip 3. They gave me $900. I paid $100 to upgrade to this. They caught on to that pretty quick. They lowered that down to $700, but still some pretty meaningful trade-in credit. I mean, it's a lot better than what I'm getting with Apple, because with Apple, I've got my iPhone 13 Pro, trading it in for the iPhone 14 Pro. I paid like $1,300 for that phone last year, and I'm getting $600. It really hurts my heart. I'm really considering not trading it in and just maybe selling it somewhere else to make some more money back on it, because that's one thing Samsung does better than everybody else is trade-in stuff. They throw the kitchen sink at you and give you lots of trade-in value to come buy their phones. Also, I do want to throw in some camera samples here. I did take this on vacation with me. I was in Africa, I was in Casablanca, Morocco, I was in Europe, I was in Germany. So I did get an opportunity to take quite a few photos here. You can see some of them. I think that it does handle the low light photos better. It does handle detail really well. I made a camera review of the Z Flip 3 before, and I thought that it did a pretty good job. There were so many people complaining about it, and I hate, it seems like some folks get wrapped up in talking points and just want to say, okay, clearly this is not good enough from looking at it on paper, but then when you get it out in reality, especially with the computational photography, the pipeline stuff behind that, using the processor, the AI cores, the machine learning combined with the camera app, it really does special things with the camera. And the Google Pixel started that, and now Samsung and Apple are doing a pretty good job with it too. So I'm pretty happy with the cameras on here. I think next year, I think we really need to see a redesign there with a new, better selfie camera and a big improvement in the primary camera. But this is just enough. Just enough. I think that's probably a good way to classify it. I like it. I think they did a good job. So that's all I've got. I know it's kind of an unorthodox review on this phone, but I wanted to take a different approach to it and not just sit here and be like, okay, here's the specs. We'll talk about that. This is a kind of how things really work. Rubber meets the road. My impressions of it. I've had it for over 2 weeks now. I took it with me and used it a lot on my trip while I was gone for 2 weeks. So feel pretty confident, pretty comfortable. It's a good phone. It's the best flip phone out on the market that you can get, I think. Especially, yeah, we've got the new Motorola Razr, but yeah, try getting that one in the States. Hopefully we get a global launch on that at some point. I really would like to get my hands on one at some point, but as of right now, this is it. This is the industry leader, and it probably will be for a while. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please go down in the comment section. I will get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.